A man once chased the Prophet for a huge reward. He rode his fastest horse across the desert, determined to capture him. But something strange happened on the journey. His horse suddenly sank into the sand. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. This is the incredible story of Suraqah ibn Malik, the man who chased the Prophet but ended up becoming part of one of the greatest promises in Islamic history. In the year of the historic migration known as the Hijrah, the leaders of Mecca were desperate. They wanted to stop Prophet Muhammad before he could reach Medina, so they announced a massive reward: 100 camels for anyone who could capture him. At that time, 100 camels was a fortune. When Suraqah ibn Malik heard the news, his heart was filled with ambition. "This is my chance," he thought. Quietly, he prepared his horse, took his spear, and rode into the desert, following the tracks of the Prophet and his loyal companion Abu Bakr. The desert wind blew across the empty land as Suraqah finally spotted them in the distance. His heart raced. The reward was almost in his hands. He pushed his horse forward, but suddenly, his horse stumbled and its legs sank deep into the sand. Suraqah was shocked. He freed the horse and tried again. Galloping forward with determination, he chased them once more, but again the horse sank into the sand. This time, dust rose from the ground like smoke. Fear began creeping into Suraqah's heart. Still, driven by greed, he tried one last time, but the same thing happened again. The horse sank deeper than before. At that moment, Suraqah realized something powerful. This man he was chasing was not being protected by an army. He was being protected by Allah. Terrified and humbled, Suraqah called out, "O Muhammad, pray for me, and I will not harm you." The Prophet stopped. Instead of anger, he showed mercy. Prophet Muhammad prayed for him, and instantly, the ground released Suraqah's horse. But then something even more surprising happened. The Prophet made a promise to Suraqah. He said, "O Suraqah, how will you feel one day when you wear the bracelets of the king of Persia?" Suraqah was stunned. At that time, the Persian Empire was one of the most powerful empires in the world. How could a man being chased through the desert promise something like that? Years passed. Islam grew stronger. Eventually, the mighty Persian Empire fell during the caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Among the treasures brought to Medina were the royal bracelets of the Persian king. And do you know who was called to wear them? Suraqah ibn Malik. The man who once chased the Prophet for a reward was now wearing the treasure of a fallen empire. The promise of the Prophet had come true. Lesson and reflection. This story teaches us several powerful lessons. First, Allah protects those who walk on the path of truth. Even in the middle of the desert, with enemies chasing him, the Prophet was under divine protection. Second, people can change. Suraqah began his journey chasing the Prophet out of greed, but it became a moment that led him toward faith and honor. Finally, the promises of the Prophet are always true. What seemed impossible in the desert became reality years later. A man once chased the Prophet hoping for 100 camels. But in the end, he received something far greater, a place in one of the most incredible promises in Islamic history.